Morning, Trainiacs. Very recently, I ended up getting sent out this Garmin Edge 1030 Plus by our channel sponsor, Garmin. Now, this is technically, I guess, a sponsored video, but they haven't said anything about what has to go in this video. Frankly, they don't even know that I'm making this video. But just so you know, it is a channel sponsor. Now, I've gone for a couple of rides with the Garmin Edge 1030 Plus here just to kind of understand how it kind of functions. But what I'm going to walk through here with you is how I set up the screens to get really good workouts while also a really nice balance of safety, but not taking me out of doing the work. Now, with all of the features that you can possibly add into high-end bike computers like this, I think that it can be overwhelming deciding what is and isn't critical and what is and isn't going to add to your actual training. So I'm going to tell you how I set this up, largely for simplicity and to be able to get in a really good, solid workout. So let's just unbox this here. Like I say, I have already used this for 2 rides, but I haven't gone ahead and set it up basically the way that I would want. So in it, you've got the Garmin 1030 Plus, and I actually haven't even dug into the rest of the box, but you've got a bike mount and then all different versions of bike mounts and collar mounts so that you can attach it to your handlebars. Charging cable and the manual. So straightforward stuff, everything that you would expect. As long as you don't have a really specific handlebar and you've just got a round handlebar, you'll be able to use this. But let's get into actually setting this up because I haven't done so yet. Turning it on, one thing that I've noticed in the couple of rides is that the turning on process and the GPS process is like really, really quick. What I'm gonna do is activity profiles, and I'm gonna do road. So we're gonna set up the road settings. We'll do the indoor or mountain bike settings for another day. Now, what I wanna set up first here is a data screen. And I'm gonna go to screen 1, and this is gonna get me all of the information that I want to get in a workout. I've gone through this already, and I think it starts you off at something like 5 data screens. I'm gonna just click forward here and go to 9. And what it gives you is 2 different versions. So you've got a version with 7 different screens, and then a version with 7 different screens, but just in a different format. So I'm gonna go all the way up to 9 screens. There's only one version of the 9 screen setup. And then what I'm gonna do is click the bottom right button here, and it's gonna cue me that I can tap a field to move it around, and then I can double tap to change that field. So this is what I'm gonna set up here. This is gonna be my go-to screen, basically my default screen for workouts and for laps in workouts. So I'm gonna start off with heart rate. Yeah, I definitely want that. And then I want 3-second average power. Oh, basically it's already given me this. So I want 3-second average power next. Those 2 things are going to allow me to know if I'm in the right ballpark of an intensity level. Am I going too hard on an easy ride, or am I going hard enough in a hard interval? Next thing I want is the timer, and I'm going to double tap on this, and I want this to be workout time. So I'm gonna make sure that this timer is then on timer, and we're gonna do something to make sure it doesn't include dead time, because I want pure workout time. If I'm going for a 3-hour ride, I don't want 3 hours also including the stoplights or things like that, stopping for cars. I want the timer, and I'm gonna show you how to set that up. So timer. So then I'm gonna start moving down here, and this is basically how I'm gonna set it up. So the next thing that I want for training is I'm gonna want cadence. So I want to know my cadence. I wanna have at an easy glance at the top of the screen all of the things that I really need to know. The next thing I want to have is the normalized power. And this is going to give me really just an indication of how well the workout is going. So I am going to go down here. We're going to find normalized power. I'm sure I missed it. There we go. Normalized power. So I want that. So now with all these things that I've just set up here, essentially this is taking care of my long general rides where I'm not trying to do a specific thing. Next thing, this next row is what I'm going to set up for the laps. Now this is when I start doing specific workouts. I start doing intervals that are specific times and intensities. And what I'm going to set up here for the next little section is I'm going to look for the lap. I'm going to go to timer, and then I'm going to go with the lap time. So if I've got a series of 6-minute intervals to do or 5-minute intervals, I've got the lap time. And this button right here, that's what starts and stops a lap. So I can set that workout every time that I start or stop a lap. Next is most of my workouts are done off of power, and a power number for the actual workouts that I'm supposed to hit for a certain amount of time. So then I'm going to go to power, and I'm going to go to lap power, and that row then is going to take care of, am I hitting the right things in this lap? I can combine that with cadence if it's a low cadence kind of interval, and that's all just right there. On other devices that I've used, when there are multiple screens, when you've got to lap it and then it goes to a lap screen, I have to often end up losing some of this data and then going back between screens. But with this being so large, I can fit in everything in just one screen. Now, the final couple of things that I want to add here, average speed. I want to have that, and that's also going to give me an indication of when I need to turn around, and it's just kind of interesting to see. And then the final thing is distance and that. Now between all of that, I'm going to know when I've got to turn around, I'm going to know how the workout's going, I'm going to know how the workout efforts are going if I'm doing specific intervals. So that is going to be my setup. Now there are a couple of other things that I also want to set up. First is alerts. Now watches, bike computers, they're all now tied into our phones, and there are so many alerts. What's actually been shown is that if you have a phone or a bunch of alerts next to you while you're doing a workout, you're not going to perform as well in that workout because your mind is also being spent on something else. So I want to have just enough alerts to keep this ride safe, but not so many alerts that I'm just constantly hearing beep, 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 getting text messages taking me out of the workout. So to do that, I go back and then I go into alerts, workout target alerts. I'm not setting workout targets in here because most of the workouts that I do, the interval workouts, they're simple enough that you can just put it in your head and then go out and execute. So I'm going to turn that off. And then by default, all the rest of these alerts are off. Next, I'm going to go into the auto features and I'm going to go into auto lap. I'm going to take that off because I want to be able to manually set my own lap. I don't want it going off at just random intervals of 5 miles or 8.05K because I don't really care about that. So I'm going to take that off. Then I'm going to add auto pause. So by default, auto pause is off. So I want to turn that on when stopped. So what this is going to do is it's going to stop the timer when I stop at lights. And then the timer function is just going to include my ride time. So if I have a 3-hour ride, I want to ride for 3 hours. I don't want to ride for 2 hours and 45 minutes with 15 minutes of stop time. This is going to automatically stop that, so the timer is just showing your workout time. Next, I want to go down to nutrition and hydration. I don't want it to track consumption. I want to be able to use basically the methods that I outline in our new book, Triathlon Nutrition Foundations, at triathlonnutritionfoundations.com, to dial in my personal nutrition. And while it might help, it's just not something I'm familiar with. I might dig into it another day. Let me know in the comments if you want me to dig into any specific feature on this. Next thing, now I have this Garmin 1030 paired with the Varia Light. But the cool thing about this Varia Light is that, yes, it's a light, but it's also a radar that senses when cars are coming in behind you. Now, I think that's great because it allows me to explore other roads that I'm not familiar with, whether it's safe or not. And what ends up happening is along the side of the screen here, it ends up turning red by about 1/8 of an inch. There's just a little red bar, and you can see when the car is getting closer to you. I think that this is fantastic. I used it for the first time on the weekend, and I didn't think that I would like it, but I actually really did. What I didn't like about it is just the amount of noise that it was creating. Like I say, the amount of notifications that you get, beep boop, beep boop, it takes you out of the workout. And then more importantly, if it's just constantly beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, just freaking out, it kind of makes you twitchy. It makes you a twitchy rider. So I want to know when cars are there, but I don't want to become twitchy and unstable. So what I'm going to go to set that is I go to sensors. I go to, this is the radar sensor. I've enabled it. I go into the sensor details, the alert settings, the color overlay, that's what's going to make it red along the side, which column it goes onto, is it on the right or is it on the left, and the tones, the multi-tone, the beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, gets a little bit much, so I'm just going to have a single tone. That's it. So as I hear beep, I am then going to know that there's a car coming and I look down to do it without it being a little bit too distracting. And then in general, I have no phone notifications because I want to be in the workout. I want to just be able to focus on the workout, and I take times when I'm off my bike to check my phone and make sure that everything is okay. So that's how I set this up, and that's how I set up every bike computer that I've used, whether it's a big one or a small one. Those are the data points that I use for an easy workout or a hard workout. Only thing that I might change in this is that when I go to travel, the only thing that I would change is I want to make sure that it's easy to get to the map, and I would turn on sharp bend notifications so that there's a notification that pops up when I'm on a road and there's a sharp bend. So if I end up joining a group ride and I don't actually know the ride at all, I know when sharp bends are coming up so I can prepare for it. Other than that, I'm into it. Screen's big, screen is bright, and it's good. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything in specific that you want to know about this, but if you want a really in-depth review of this, DC Rainmaker, he does very in-depth accuracy and really in-depth testing, and you can check out his video here. And if you aren't already subscribed and you like triathlon content, hit the subscribe button below. Later, Trainiacs.